Okay, I just wanted to jump over first to warn people that we might be a little late because of the show and tell session, but I guess we are now the same audience here. But yeah, let's wait a little bit longer to see if Bikram will join in.
Bikram is back.
Hey guys, good morning.
Hi.
Hello.
Hey.
Good morning.
So Bikram, do you want to initialize the meeting or should we just jump in directly?
You guys can jump in, please.
Then I guess first one on the agenda is Lars.
Yeah.
Feel free to
Just touch.
take the screen.
Yeah, hi everyone. So just a couple of quick updates from me. The first one concerns the intake tests. There was a PR merge recently, which changes the setup sort of on how the tests are run for the Magma test VM. So there's a Python environment that we need, which was so far built with Make. And this has been switched over now to be built with Bazel, and Make is still executing the tests, but it's just a wrapper for PyTest. So it could be an option to switch this to Bash or some other scripting. But for now, it's just still a Make command that then just calls Bazel to build this environment. And then there are a couple of cleanup issues that are sort of CI related. The first one is that there was a failure in the Pylint job. This was caused by Ubuntu removing a package, and there was no apt update run on this machine. So it was the job is directly run on the runner, and there was no update, so the new package wasn't registered. So it was pretty easy to fix this just by running an apt update, and just this might be a good pattern in general to run apt update on these kinds of jobs, just so that the newest packages can be found even if the older packages aren't available anymore. Then the CPP lint job, which is it's a linting job that checks that the code that has been modified in PRs is formatted according to the Google style guide. And this job is now running under the review dog action. So review dog is like a general tool that we're using for a lot of jobs, and there are many different kinds of linters, or you can run different kinds of linters. So you can run CPP lint, but you can also run shell check and lots of other. We also use header lint and so on. So it's like a general tooling that we have. There's also review dog workflow, and this is one of the jobs there. And yeah, now we're also using that for CPP lint. And what's also new is that the job is now failing if errors are detected. So far it was just commenting on the PRs, but it wasn't actually read if it found something. So now it's actually failing if there are errors present, and it writes annotations like this on the changes. But it's not a required job. There's currently still some duplication, which we will probably have to keep because of some technical reasons. There is also a Clang format job, and that one is required, but it doesn't really give much logging, and it also doesn't comment on your PRs. Any questions on that topic? Otherwise, I would just continue. So then there was a larger cleanup effort here regarding Markdown files. So the Markdown files that are part of Docusaurus, they are linted in CI. But we also have a lot of README files. They're just in some folders, but they're not part of the Docusaurus. They're not deployed for the docs. And these aren't linted at all in CI. And the annoying thing here is that if you open a PR and you touch these files, then the Markdown linter will look at them, but only if you touch them. And then there will show up lots of errors that you didn't cause in other areas of the file. And so this change here fixed some 900 or so lines. There's still a lot of errors that can't be fixed automatically. There's a follow-up to look into this. And of course, you would have to fix all of them to really make this check work in general and not show up any errors that you didn't cause with your changes. And then I think Marco will now talk about MyPy.
No, this was switched. The MyPy was, I think, with you.
Oh,
I just added the latest line.
Okay. Well, I didn't really work on a MyPy issue, but
Okay.
the problem here was that. So I think this is also a review doc job, and the issue is that since MyPy needs to check sort of the definition of functions and the return values, it can be that when you change something on the return value, it would only check there, but it wouldn't check definition. So it would give, it wouldn't detect some errors. Like you could change the type in the return value, but not change it in the definition line, and then it wouldn't be detected as an error. And so, yeah, this led to this underreporting, and now it's changed so that if you change something in a file, it would run on the entire file. So then it would catch all of these errors, but it would also catch some things that are just similar to the Markdown errors. So there are already some errors present in the code base, and they will also be reported. So there'll be some over-reporting, but it's safer this way. And yeah, Cameron also fixed a number of errors here, but there's still some left over. Okay, then Marco, you want to talk about the Docker load test?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I will quickly grab the screen here. Exactly. Yeah. Just a small comment regarding the CI cleanup topic. We removed the Docker load test, which was unfunctional for quite a while. So going back into all the logs that were still saved on GitHub, we only had errors with failing credentials. So this used a Facebook AWS account, which was disabled quite some time ago, and the job was then pushed to a non-required job also some time ago, and we just removed this test now. Just as a quick update for me on the CI cleanup, and I would continue with CI topic of the LTE integration test based on a containerized HW. We had 2 bugs in the in the workflow which reported the results. So there were no bugs in the test itself, but the test results of the single make test targets in the pre-commit and the extended long-running tests, there was a bug in how the individual results were combined to the final result, and also the notification to Slack in the hash CI channel was had a faulty condition, and this was also fixed. And the second one is something that came up, I think it was last week in the engineering meeting, or I think it was the latest engineering meeting. We were talking about failing containerized HW tests or stabilizing effort to make them green. And so we did a deeper dive into an analysis on what makes these tests fail. And while there are some infrastructural problems, for example, with virtual machines not properly starting, we identified one specific test as the culprit for quite a high percentage of these tests. I can maybe briefly dive in a little bit. So we're talking about the test for the 3485 timer, which is defined in the 3GPP specs. And this test also restarts the MME service, or in this case, the MME container. And we suspect here a race condition between restarting the container and this timer. And while in the systemd logic, restart of the MME service triggers restarts of several other Magma services. And this is, of course, not inherently true for the Dockerized version. And the dependency of these services, when you restart one of them, this was hard-coded in the test framework, but of course, this is not present in production. So we changed the restart logic here to what is basically also happening, or what would happen in production. And we only start the MME container as a single service here, and had quite success testing it. For example, one of the tests, we tested it 20 times in a row and it was always passing, while we saw it failing in CI
Just
nearly always.
Just a quick question. The fix is moving all three services in one container?
No.
The fix is changing the communication between the services, so when one goes down, the other two are restarting?
It is just that when you restart MME, it only restarts MME and not everything else. That's the behavior we now implement.
What is the implementation now?
Yeah, now we just restart MME, and previously we had a dependency of or multiple containers restarting, which takes more time, and this then causes this race condition.
Okay, understood.
Maybe if I can quickly jump in with my personal opinion, but this is completely out of scope for this task, because here the goal was to fix the tests first. But still, the Dockerized AGW does not exactly behave the same as the systemd version. As Marco said, for systemd, we have a complicated connection, a cascading connection between the services. So if MME is restarted, then pipeline D is restarted, and so on. And this is currently not happening in production for the containerized version. So it needs to be thought over if this is necessary, and if not, then of course the change from Marco can stay. But otherwise, if we need this restart logic, then actually the behavior is that it's way slower in the Dockerized gateway compared to the systemd version.
No, I mean, the reason why I've asked is because I'm working on the solution to make sure that once one of these containers is restarted, the other containers follow, in order to assure the consistency of the system for the production. This is why I was asking what's changed here, but I don't see collision. I mean, and now since this will impact the test, yes, it's much slower. I'll think to put a switch over there when to use it, when not to use it. So I'll configure it in a way that during the test we can skip it and manually orchestrate the restarts. But in a production, they will be joined together.
This is really good to know, because if you have a pull request for that, then it should also be changed in the S1AP testing framework, because currently this, as Marco said, this logic is mimicked there.
Okay, I mean once I'm ready with the orchestrator and the pipeline and the session, I'm going to push it, and then we can discuss which other containers require such logic to be implemented.
Sounds good.
Great. Okay, and I guess this was it from me, and I would hand over for now to Niels.
Yep, thank you. I will grab the screen. So the next part is about the ongoing documentation effort. This was mainly worked on by Cameron, Lars, and me. Cameron could not join today, so I will take over for him a little bit. So Cameron did a great job to summarize gaps in the documentation. This is tracked in this issue, but this actually reflects a page in the Confluence, and everybody who joined the last town hall meeting maybe remembers this page. This is the knowledge to handover list, basically, and you see a lot of changes. We have a lot of more green check marks here, but again, the implementation part is tracked here. So, and what was added in the last couple of weeks, we now have documentation for the technical infrastructure. So I will quickly open it, but I will not read it completely with you, so don't worry. Just what is this page for? So technical infrastructure is a short summary what external components we are using from Slack, GitHub, Artifactory, and so on. And for each entry is summary where support could be get. If you want credentials for that, who to ask, or if there is a technical issue, who to contact. This is the first page. The next one is a little bit larger. It was published today. It's about the Artifactory documentation. So this is here. So this is a documentation. What is how is the Artifactory hosted? How it is structured, and differentiated between the different release artifacts that we have, or CI artifacts. We have Debian artifacts, Docker images, Helm charts, and a summary how you can get read access to these artifacts, and very important for this Artifactory, how to get write access. I can't repeat this enough. This is a big change, the difference to the last Artifactory that was used by Magma. For the Linux Foundation Artifactory, we don't have, not everybody has write access. Actually, only CI is allowed to write to this Artifactory. And documented here is what CI workflows publish to the different test repositories. It's a long list. And at the end, we only publish to test repositories. At the end, there's a summary. We have a couple of very new workflows that are only triggered manually for releases. Production artifacts are actually not published. They are copied, so promoted from, for example, Magma packages test to Magma packages prod. But this is described in detail here. These are very new documents, so feel free to read them. Reach out if there's something unclear. If you find an error and know exactly what is the case, this is a public wiki, so feel free to edit it yourself. and contribute, extend it however you think it's necessary. Cameron also created a short documentation about third-party dependencies. I will also quickly open it. It's very short. This is just a short summary that we actually have these third-party dependencies and where they can be found, and how they are created in CI. And the creation in CI is, of course, a workflow definition, which is a way better documentation and way more up-to-date documentation than having all the build steps written down here. And so this is mainly about the Open vSwitch and other third-party libraries that need to be patched for Magma. And the next one would be backporting code. But before I give over to Lars to talk about that, or Lars, correct me if I'm wrong, do you also have knowledge about the issue about the sidebar?
I can say something about it if you want.
Okay, then
Feel free to
I
take
will
over.
just give over to you, then it's more consistent.
Sure. Yeah, so first a couple of words about the backporting. So this is just that the backporting process hasn't really been documented so far. So there's now a section in the contributing code page that sort of outlines this process in a very simple step-by-step way. So of how to, like, you should create a PR and merge it to master first. Then there's a label that you put on these PR once it's merged. They all start with apply dash, and then the branch name of the release branch. There's then the backporting workflow, which the Magma CI bot will create a PR to actually do the backport and merge it to that other branch. You need to announce this PR then in the release channel, and the managers of the release can approve it, and then you can merge it like a normal PR. There are some caveats here on what if it's documentation, or in which case it should happen or not, but basically that is what has been added to the docs now. The last point here is about markdown files that are in the Docusaurus, but they haven't been added to the index files. So if you create a doc in the Docusaurus, it's not automatically displayed. It needs to be added to certain JSON files. And there's now a tracking issue here to track which pages haven't been added and so haven't actually been able to be displayed on the website, and you can't find them really. There were some fixes on that already, but there's now an issue to keep track of these and fix them step by step then. And then I hand over to Niels again.
Yep. I will grab the screen again. So I said in the last when I showed you the documentation overview that we have very new workflows to promote test artifacts to production artifacts. The last workflow that was added is the promote workflow for Debian artifacts. The heavy lifting here was done by Alex Jahl, who's no longer active in the project. So I took over and did only small changes. So again, the big part was done by Alex Jahl. I just want to go quickly over it to get an idea what is happening here. So this is the workflow file. And again, in case of the release, what usually is done is that on the test artifactory, the test repository, a new distribution for the release is created. For example, Focal 190. After extensive testing and it is decided that the current state should be released, what is done is that all the artifacts from the test repository are taken and copied over to the production artifactory repository, sorry. So, and this is done in this workflow. Previously, this was done manually. So someone did a copy on the artifactory that was hosted by Magma itself. But since we now switch to the Linux Foundation Artifactory, this is no longer possible, and we need to do this by CI workflows. Of course, this workflow is kind of dangerous because it can potentially override an existing production artifactory or repository. So this one is guarded. How is this guarded? First, we see here we have the source and the target, what I actually just said. We have the test repository, and we want to promote to the production repository. And what we have here at the beginning is a check if the user who started this workflow manually is in the group approvers CI. So this group is still used. Only currently people who are in this working group or in this group can actually run this workflow successfully. But it needs to be revised by the community if this is enough, or if this should be changed, more restricted. So if the user is not in this group, if this check is false, then we will exit immediately and everything stops. The next step is just checking when this workflow is started manually. Then we have to provide the distribution, for example, Focal 190. After testing, we want to promote this to production. And the next one here is a check if the distribution has the correct format. So it's just a validity check if there are any typos. Then we do the promotion of artifacts by using the JFrog CLI. This one is set up here, and the Linux Foundation Artifactory is configured. And the very, very small last part is actually the promotion. So the JFrog CLI, we do a copy from our source from our source repository in the folder pool of the distribution to our target repository, same distribution. And there you see a small difference. In the test repository, we have the distributions in the folder pool. This is a common directory in Artifactories. This is used in order to save space by reusing artifacts in different distributions. We don't use the same structure, the pool folder, in our production, on the production side, because there we want everything to be very, very separated between the different releases. So this is just an FYI. Any questions about the Debian promotion workflow? Great. Then the next one was already presented in the last engineering meeting, but it is DevOps related. So I wanted to show it very quickly again. We laid some hands on the carrier Wi-Fi access gateway build workflow. This one is running in the AGW build workflow. So this is a workflow that is doing a lot. It's building a lot of Docker images for the carrier Wi-Fi access gateway, for the FPG access gateway, the access gateway itself, the Debian artifacts, the orchestrator, and so on. This workflow is running on every pull request. If it's running on a pull request, then the artifacts are not published. It's basically just tested if they can still be built. If it's run on a master merge, then the artifacts are actually published to the Artifactory. So the improvement was to use another base image, or base Docker image for the carrier Wi-Fi access gateway, sorry. And the image we are using now is a Bazel pre-cached image, because a couple of services are built with Bazel, and by using this pre-cached image, it is a lot faster. So these are the last workflow runs, and we see on the pull request, this workflow now runs for 15 minutes, 14 minutes. And if we scroll down a bit, or maybe one thing, if it runs on master, it runs 1.5 hours. It's a lot slower. The reason here is because here the Debian artifacts are actually created with make, which takes a lot of time. But on pull request runs, you see it's roughly 15 minutes. But if we scroll down a bit, let me go to another page. Still not old enough, sorry. Still, we have too much workflow runs. So finally, here we still see 15 minutes, and here we actually start to see the jump, 40 minutes, and so on. So the runtime was, by the change, basically cut in 1/3. Yeah. Yeah, sorry for taking so long to find the the correct workflows. Yeah, any questions for that? Then I will give over to Marco for the Fabric upgrade.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I will quickly grab the screen. I will talk to you about this, but the heavy lifting here was done by Seb Wolf, who couldn't join today. So we already talked about this, like announcing it a month ago that we wanted to do this, and now the upgrade is almost finished. Fabric is used in Magma to mostly in CI to coordinate the different virtual machines in the CI runs and to run the exact commands on the correct VM. And for a long time, the original Fabric, so to say, did not support Python 3. So we used a forked repo. And since the original one now does support Python 3, the fork was archived, and this was already done probably too long ago. And so we now have a big PR which runs through the whole code base, changing syntax and changing the Fabric basically back to the current version of the original repo. The main changes for you as a user is that Fabric now requires its commands to be dash separated instead of underscores, and the parsing of variables is now slightly different. The current state of this effort is that the CI tests are green, and we now just need the reviewers to thoroughly review this big PR, and then we hope we can merge this, because we already have some follow-up tickets which would require the new Fabric version to be on master. And I think that's it for the agenda. I would stop screen share.
Bikram is not here. Okay. Anything else? Anyone wants to talk about DevOps topics that are not on the agenda?
Yes, I mean, I just want to mention majority of the people were in the previous meeting. We already discussed, but also in this meeting for the recording, I've opened a proposal to decide to remove one of the build systems, either Bazel or Make, and to stick to only one build system from now onwards. The proposal is on GitHub, and I invite everybody to come and comment. And thanks for the people who immediately jumped and commented on it.
Yeah, thank you for creating this proposal. Yeah, but you already saw the answer that we posted. So then for the DevOps meeting, just an FYI, it looks like that in March, the next DevOps meeting, this will be the last that Lars, Marco, and me will join as contributors. So just a shout out, a friendly shout out to the community. Feel free to take over DevOps tasks, add them to the agenda, talk about them. I really enjoyed this format that we're having, this monthly DevOps meeting, and I would wish for you to continue this after starting in April in the second quarter. If you want to contribute, we added a lot of issues that are especially suited for new contributors. Maybe Lars, you know the exact tag and did the shout out. You can summarize.
Yeah, it's so the tag, if you go to the issues overview on GitHub, you can filter by labels, and the label is literally just good first issue as one word, I think. And yeah, I think especially for CI and DevOps tasks, there are a lot of issues now. There's a lot of issues to create smaller new CI jobs that we aren't checking for example, for linting the docs and things like this. So I think there are some good starting points for people that want to start contributing to Magma in the DevOps area.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Thanks a
making
lot.
it seems like a valuable for best practice. And thanks for doing these presentations on a regular basis. I found them super helpful.
You are welcome. I enjoyed it, but next month we will still be participating.
Yeah.
So, anything else for DevOps topics? Then I guess we are finished. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Have a nice evening. See you.
See you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.